Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are going to be planting an apple arch. We're going to create an apple archway or arbor over a walkway. This is something I have always wanted to do, just never have before. And I've grown espalier trees, fruit trees and things that have been pruned into a very specific shape, but never this shape. You can see my 2 apple trees and my arbor right there. And this is the walkway we are going to be framing in. Leads from the south garden to the cut flower garden. I think this arbor is going to be absolutely perfect. I like the width of it. I want to say, what do you think? Between 5 and 6 feet here, I'm guessing. I don't know, I'm a really bad judge of that. But I also like the width here. Now for something like this, you could absolutely do something way wider, maybe even like 3 times the width of this one if you wanted to. And it's something I actually thought about for the arbor we have over here. You know, we've got those 3 Gothic arch arbors that are connected, and we could certainly do something like this over there. But this is the arch we're gonna use. It's heavy duty. I think it's gonna be great. And you won't even see it after a while. You'll really see the network of branching from our apple trees, which these are Braeburn and McIntosh. I thought it would be fun to have 2 different varieties. They look sort of similar. McIntosh have a little bit more green on them. Aren't those pretty? And it says they're bright red, medium-sized fruit, aromatic and firm, tart and sweet, and a favorite for cooking and desserts. And the wonderful thing about planting the Braeburn just right next to it is that this one is partially self-fertile, but they do better if you have either a Braeburn, a Red Delicious, or a Gala apple. So we are good to go on that. And it blooms early to mid-season, which is the same time this one blooms, so they can cross. I wasn't too worried about cross-pollination just because we have the orchard that we've got a Honeycrisp and a Fuji apple. We've also got crab apples everywhere, and that works as well. And the Braeburn's a little bit more on the red side. They say they're a superb late season fruit, crisp and tangy, and an excellent keeper. A top choice for sauces, pies, and cobblers, thanks to fruits that hold their shape and retain their moisture during baking. Love it. This one's a zone 5 through 10. I can't remember, this one might be a little hardier. 4 through 7. Both of these varieties are a semi-dwarf type, so usually if you're growing them in an orchard situation, they will grow 15 to 18-ish feet tall typically, unless you're keeping them very pruned. And a lot of people do. They keep them pruned in kind of that vase shape, a little bit lower, so it's easy to harvest everything. But that's the beauty of fruit trees. They really take to pruning and shaping really well. The first time I saw an apple tree pruned in a very unique way, and not just the typical espalier way where you see the main trunk, and then you see, maybe like 3 sets of lateral branches or horizontal branches coming out. That's a pretty typical shape. But the first time I saw the unique shape was at Christensen's Nursery in Skagit Valley. It's like southwestern Washington. If you're ever in that area, I don't know exactly what town they're in, but well worth the trip. It's a beautiful nursery. But I was walking around in their gardens, and I don't know if they still have it there, but as a border, you know how some people put like the little short wire fencing around the border of their flower beds? Well, they created that out of apple trees. So they had branches that were swooped like fencing with big red apples hanging off of them. And I thought it was the neatest thing. And it's so fun when people just try stuff out like that. I wouldn't think like, oh, I could plant a tree and then keep it, 1.5 feet from the ground for its whole life and keep pruning it down that way. It's just thinking so far outside the box, and I thought that was so neat. So my hope for these is to train them onto this trellis, or this arbor rather, and then, late in the season when we're walking through the garden, we'll get to see apples hanging from this arbor. I think it's going to be some kind of magical somehow. So with trees that are this size already, typically when you're training, you start with things that are a little smaller, but I have trained espalier trees before from this size. I think these are like 7-gallon right here. So what I do is I follow the trunk up and I look at where the most strong looking branches are that face the same direction. So you can see the leader here. You see some strong branching coming off this way. This one right here is kind of facing toward the back, but it's easy and flexible enough at this stage of its life to bring forward a bit. This one will probably go because it's coming out straight toward the front. This one will be trained as a branch to the arbor, and then anything sticking out toward the front or sticking straight out toward the back will be removed, so that we end up with sort of a flat shape. But we'll do that after we get the arbor set up and the apples planted. So I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set the arbor up first and just figure out its placement. Once we figure out the placement exactly, we're going to take the arbor back down. That way we have room to dig holes underneath where we want the trunk to start, because I want the trunk to line up with the arbor, like flush. So we'll want the trunk to run right up beside the metal here, which means the root ball is going to be on both sides. of this area. So once we set it up, determine where the apples need to go, and then take it back down and dig our holes, we can get these planted. We'll set our arbor back up, and then we can start pruning and training. This project just sort of aligned beautifully. We were down at the garden center the other day, and I was just poking through the trees and just thinking of different things that I wanted in different areas of the garden. And Bethany and I actually had just talked about creating an apple arch somewhere else in the garden, which we may still do. But I saw this arbor, and I saw the trees that were still back in the fruit tree area. I thought this might be perfect. We can maybe have multiple apple arches in the end. Or we could do pear. That would be a beautiful arch. Maybe we'll do that somewhere. The last thing I think I forgot to mention is that the Braeburn is self-fruitful. You don't need to have a pollinator for that one. But usually if you do have cross-pollination, you have better yields, better production. So anyway, I think I forgot to mention that earlier. Okay, so now we just need to get the work done. Let's do it. Arbor is in. Just wanted to stop real quick so we could take a look at it before we plant our apple trees. There's just something about an arbor. It makes you want to walk through it. I don't know what it is. They just instantly frame a space and instantly like start pulling you in. At least me anyway. I don't know, maybe I'm nuts. And now that it's in, I think I'm going to try to dig the hole without moving the arbor. So I'll just dig from both sides. See, I think there's enough room to get my shovel in and just kind of hollow out part of the hole on this side, because I don't really want to put the arbor back in. They're surprisingly squirrely, especially this one, because you can kind of bend this and get it off a little bit. And I do think as these apple trees grow, there will always be one of the two that maybe has hit a growth spurt while the other one is kind of sitting there, you know, as plants do. So there will probably be a little bit more pull from one apple than from the other at different times of their life. So I might have to keep an eye on it and do a little bit of staking of the arbor, which makes it nice that I don't have to tie onto the apple trees to pull them back. I can tie onto part of this and, you know, pull it back and stick it into the ground just to do a little bit of corrective shaping that way. So a 7-gallon pot, I mean, I think I'll just have to dig out like this around the base. Let's get that done. And we're going to use a shovel for this because the auger, it just won't work as well with the arbor in the way. I got both of the holes dug. It was not hard to dig around the arbor. I'm thankful for that. Oh my goodness. And I did verify that we are the same amount of space away from the edges, which I had forgotten to do before. So we're 1 foot away on this side and 1 foot away on this side. 1 of my feet anyway. And that's how precision usually goes around here. I think I would like to do some pruning before we put the tree in the hole because I can kind of tell what I want to cut off. And I'll, you know, do just the branches that might be in the way of the arbor. And then we can do more pruning once they're in if we need to. So like this one, like I mentioned before, this is going to be the front of it. And we're going to just save a lot of the branches that are naturally growing out to the sides we want them to, which means we will eliminate some of these back branches like this one right here, this one, most definitely this one right here. And then I know I'm not going to want this one because it's coming straight out to the front. And I don't know, maybe we'll keep this bottom one, but not the one that's coming right straight forward. Need to take the tags off anyway. Which one is this? Okay, so Macintosh is going to go on this side, apparently, and Braeburn on the other side. Doesn't really matter. Oh, you know what? This one right here. See how this one's growing out toward the front? Get rid of that one. Oh, it's already looking like it's the right shape. I love it. This one, I just want to see, I don't know, there might not be quite enough flexibility. This is the only one that's kind of coming forward more than I would like it to. We'll wait on that. Okay, and then for this one right here, I think you can see the leader. We can see some strong branches coming off this direction. You can train this one over. This one would be nice. Kind of want to look at it from both sides here. So for this one right here, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to prune off anything coming toward the front, anything growing off toward, that's such a big one. Maybe we'll just take off some of the more egregiously backwards growing branches. We might be able to utilize this one right here. Even though these are growing kind of close together right here, we can spread these out, I think, on the arbor. I'm guessing this one's gonna go, but I'm gonna leave it for now because we might use it. But yeah, this one's definitely taking on a little bit of a better shape. Okay, so this one, more flat minus this branch here, which we might draw forward, possibly. Doubt it, but possibly. I always take after that process a little bit slower and don't take off quite as much because you can't put it back. But we can always take more off. Let's get our biotone. Let's get them planted. Look at this, first one is done and it fits beautifully right here. I can't even believe it. Look at this. It's gorgeous. And the trunk is growing right alongside the middle of the arbor here. I mean, the trunk isn't perfect, so it kind of goes in and out of being in the middle. Oh, but I love it. So fun. All right, let's get the second one in. Okay, this one is definitely more rooted than the other tree was. This is the Brayburn right here. One side though, you can see this is nice and pliable. The roots come off or fluff really easily. This side, it's pretty tight. So I'm just gonna fluff this as good as I can. In the more thick areas, typically I'll use my pruners and just kind of break it up a little bit like this. Usually that's about sufficient. All right, second tree is in. This one is gonna require a little bit more training because in order to keep, especially this branch right here, which is going right toward the arbor, I'm gonna have to sort of twist the tree a little bit. I really wanna keep it because it's a very strong branch going this way. So we'll just use some soft tie, which is this stuff right here, just essentially rubber coated wire that you can cut to whatever size you want it to be. It sort of blends in. I like the color of it. You don't really notice it. So we'll use this in several different spots just to help hold the tree on and to help tie the branches off where we want them to be. Because this one I'll want to go a little bit further down than it is. This one a little bit more over and so on. So let's get that part done. All done and they look awesome. So you can see I start down low and start to tie off the trunk to the arbor where I want it to be. And I work my way all the way up to where the leader is still pointing straight up. And then I went along starting at the bottom first and started to train branches over. So you can see like this one was pointing a little bit more forward. And I think over time we'll be able to sort of draw this one closer and closer. I like how low this one is. So I'd like to try to keep it there. And then we're just gonna make sure to keep all of this area, like there's going to be space between the branches, which might mean like the eventual cutting off of this one right here if it gets too thick, and just keeping them well pruned. Kind of the name of the game with this type of project. And here's the other one. It actually turned out really nice. So I started off again toward the bottom and worked my way up. This one's not even doing its job anymore. Hang on. There we go. Following it up, tied it off here, here, and then I just kind of wove this one into the arbor because I ran out of soft tie, but I had enough to train over a few of these side branches. This is the one that was facing the back. We were able to twist enough to get this one tied off here. And then these branches are fine. They're healthy. They're just not as big as this side, just because this is not how the tree was originally trained to grow, but we should be good from this point on. This is just going to be such a fun project to watch grow and turn into something amazing. You know, today it doesn't look like a tremendous amount, but it does frame in this area. And once these are all full of branches and full of leaves and fruit, it's going to be the most wonderful thing, I think. We are going to have to follow the same spray regimen that we do in our orchard with our other orchard trees. So we're going to be hitting them with liquid copper and the horticultural dormant oil this winter. Usually right around the end of November, you want to hit them the first time, and we'll do a video when we take after it, right after all the leaves have fallen. And what that does is helps prevent overwintering insects and things like that, and some fungal and bacteria things. And then we do it again on a nice day in January, and usually again right around Super Bowl Sunday. I never make it to all 3 spray rounds, usually to 1 or 2 of them, and our trees do okay. And other than that, it will just be routine pruning on these, which of course we'll have to prune a lot more than we do with the trees in the orchard, which are a once-a-year thing. These will be probably 3 times in a season. We'll come through and kind of thin them out a little bit, make sure that all the branches have proper airflow and light so that we can get some nice fruit. And the last thing we're going to do is we've got some flagging tape. We're going to head over to the rose garden. We're going to flag the varieties of roses that we want to keep for our own garden, because I've mentioned throughout this whole season that we are going to be making some big changes here to the cut flower garden that I'm so looking forward to. But we've got a lot of plants in the way, and we've got to retool things in this whole space. So you can see we've got the rose garden quadrant there. This section's full of annuals. We've got dahlias and some other things on that side. And then there's one other quadrant. We've got a whole bunch of perennials, and I still have potatoes to dig over there. So you can see right now, it's just grass to flowers. And it's been a really fun space that way, but we have fairly long winters here, and there's nothing in here in winter. It just looks like kind of a wasteland, barren wasteland. So we need some winter interest around here. The boxwoods are going to be a beautiful addition. They'll go around the whole perimeter of each one of these quadrants. We're going to leave walkway openings on each side, so there'll be 4 openings to each quadrant. We've got some linden trees we're going to plant in here, which will eventually make this a big shade garden, which I'm so excited for, but that'll be years down the road. So leading up to that, I'll still be planting a lot of cut flowers in this space, just differently than I am now. Instead of row crops, they'll be row crops still, but in smaller sections. So with these changes, we are going to be eliminating the rose garden, which I've learned a lot. We just started this last year. We thankfully didn't get every single spot that we had allocated for roses planted with the rose, but I learned 2 things. 1, always space things further than you think you need to. I put these, I can't even remember how, like 6 feet apart from one another. And I tried to pick varieties that stayed smaller, but roses typically, I mean, you know, they throw out long arms, or they do well here. We don't deal with fungal diseases, black spot, powdery mildew, like I know some of you guys in more humid, more temperate climates deal with. They do flourish here, unless you get mites and thrips, which we've been dealing with this year, but definitely space them out further than you think you do, or you think you need to, so that you can access the full shrub and it's never a pain to walk through it. The second thing I learned is that I don't love a rose garden. And I kind of knew that about myself. Erin always really wanted to try rose gardens, so it was really kind of a fun experiment just to put it in and see what we thought. And you know, we did grow these like row crops instead of having like a formal design, but I don't even think I would like a rose garden as a formal design, because I don't know if it's different in other places than it is here, but we get one massive flush of blooms like end of May, beginning of June, and every single rose plant is full of color. They all still look really fresh. They haven't been attacked by too many things to, you know, start making them look a little puny. They just look great. And then through the rest of the season, we do get color, but it's never on the same schedule. Everything kind of throws, you know, blooms out sporadically. I don't know. I just feel like it's just not my thing. And so I'm really happy to be dismantling this area. There's only a few roses I do want to actually keep and move, because I learned that I absolutely love them. And then I'm going to let friends and family come in and dig anything else that they want out of this space. So I thought I would run through and show you some of the varieties that I absolutely love. And yeah, and we'll get them all marked. So like this one right here, I did put some tags out last year. You can see that they did not last. So I'm going to have to get in here, see if I can find that little white tag, you know, that's around the base of the plant. Hang on. Or better yet, I made a spreadsheet with all the variety names. I think that'll be a lot easier. I'm so glad I made a spreadsheet. I broke it up by rows. So row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I put the varieties in order. So like the one we were just looking at, this one's called Ashley. And I just love the way these roses look, and it's been super productive. You can tell that it's succumbing to thrips. This is what thrip damage looks like on buds, but I still want to keep this one and grow this one somewhere in our garden because I think it's gorgeous. This one is Baroness, kind of has the same sort of look to it, a little bit smaller roses, but they are so delicate and beautiful. There's of course the distant drums right here. A honeybee working one of the blooms. I love that one. Princess Charlene de Monaco. Gorgeous and so beautiful, like creamy light pink. There's one called Heavenly Scent, which the roses don't look awesome right now. I love the fragrance of this rose, and it does grow very upright. I never have to cut wild arms off of it, but I'm not as in love with the color. It's a little bit more on the warm pink side of things, so we can let that one go. Sweet Mademoiselle though, definite keeper. Look at that rose. The fragrance is amazing, and look at how healthy the leaves look. You can see this is a larger one, so yeah, we'll have to find a good size spot for it. Anyway, that's how this space is organized. So I'm just gonna go through, I will tag all of the varieties I'm gonna keep, and I'm gonna try to control myself because they will all go to good homes. And I think people will really enjoy having them, and that makes me happy. So anyway, when I'm done tagging all of these, we'll go back through and I'll show you each one that I decided to keep. All right, we've marked 18 of the however many roses we have out here. There are a couple that I might mark. I just have to find a spot for them because, as you will see here in a minute, they get quite large. Like, I think they could be small climbers instead of little shrub rows for a cut garden like this. But we'll just start and go row by row. I already showed you some of these. Like, we're gonna keep the Whistly, really pretty delicate pink, the Distant Drums, Princess Charlene de Monaco, Louise Odier, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh, Sweet Mademoiselle, and Eglantine. Then we've got Abbe de Cluny, which I like the growth habit of this one. You can see it's budded up all over it. Super glossy, lush looking leaves. Beautiful apricot colored roses. I think I might tag the apricots and cream as well. It's similar in color to the Abbe de Cluny, but look at the leaves. Anything that looks like this through our summer that comes out looking this lush, gotta keep those kinds of things. Like this one, not so great. We've got a winter sunset right here, which I love. This one and this one right here. I think that one's called My Best Friend. They have a beautiful shape. Like, they never get wild arms that we have to cut off. This one's absolutely chock full of buds just everywhere. And you can see how gorgeous the flowers are as they come out and age. You know, they start a little bit deeper color and age to a beautiful kind of creamy apricot. Here's the Ashley. I just love that color. And this one, it's called South Park. This is probably like the sickest looking shrub of all of them I'm gonna save, in that it needs iron pretty bad. I'm also seeing like a slight whiff of powdery mildew starting to form. You can see it usually on this newer growth. The leaves kind of curl and they have this powdery, you know, white powdery look to them. But I really want to keep this one because the roses are gorgeous. Look at the buds, kind of a saturated pink, and then they open to kind of a smokier pink on the outside, and then the apricot on the inside. You can see the thrip damage to this one right here. They kind of get that turned out look in the center. But I really like this flower, so we're gonna see what we can do. Then we've got the Betty White right here, which when these roses are more fresh, they are kind of like white on the outside and then pink, and they're just so squishy and marshmallowy. I love it. And then this one is April Love. It has a really pleasant growth habit and really pretty pink roses. Look at that. So that was the first 4 rows. Then right here we have one called Molyneux, which I'm not gonna tag because I think Bethany really likes this one. So we'll leave that one so she can take it. It's a beautiful rose though in its growth habit and color. We've got the Tchaikovsky right here, which I did tag. And it's that creamy yellow. So pretty. And then a closer look at the one called My Best Friend, which I mentioned earlier, having a really beautiful growth habit, really tidy and full of color, beautiful buds, beautiful open flowers. And I actually do love the color of this rose. It's called Edith's Darling. This one has smaller flowers, and like I was comparing it to this one doesn't have to be deadheaded as intensely as this one does. This one comes out in huge big masses of bloom, especially earlier in the season, and then it kind of looks like a mess until you get it deadheaded, and it's a little bit more tedious to deadhead. Now this is one of the ones that I would consider putting out in the landscape if I could find a spot. See how it's throwing off these really long arms. This one's called Golden Celebration, and I think this is one that's wanting to be a small climber. Look at how beautiful that is though. I'm gonna have to find a spot for this. No, I didn't mark any others in this row. This is a beauty though. Look at this. I think I've marked one that's fairly similar though. And then we've got one called Cream Abundance. It's a smaller growing rose here. That really beautiful porcelain pink. Now this is another one, Madame Anisette. It's really pretty, but boy, it is wanting to, it's got like almost like a silvery look to the pink. It's wanting to be absolutely massive. Some more color right here, maybe a little bit. I don't know, I might move that one somewhere. Let's see, we're gonna keep this one. It's Coco Loco. Absolutely beautiful, kind of lavendery cream, brown, pink. I don't know, there's just kind of an array of color in there, and they're beautiful. And this one right here, see how huge this is? It's way taller than I am. It's called Quicksilver. And the blooms are gorgeous. The leaves are beautiful. We just need to have some more fencing for these things to grow on, or maybe we could take it out to the dirtlands and just let it be its big self out there. We've got a white one called Bolero. I don't have a super fresh one to show you, but it gives you a good idea there. And 2 more. We've got Honey Dijon, absolutely gorgeous, and Windermere right here. So 18 tagged now, with maybe the addition of a couple more that we could either let them go to town out in the dirtlands. However, I don't really want to put stuff out there that I have to deadhead, and maybe we just don't. Maybe we let them form hips out there and just do what they're gonna do on their own. That might be kind of fun experiment. And I won't be digging and transplanting these until a little bit later on. We have the Dreamstream project here in less than 2 weeks. After that, the week after that is when we're gonna really haul into this space and start pulling some things that are still in the way, digging things, transplanting, and starting up with the boxwoods. So anyway, guys, that is going to be it for today's projects. Just really happy with the apple arch, and that will be a fun one to show you the progress and just see what happens with that. And then sort of a start on the roses. So I can start thinking about where I want to put the ones that I did tag. It's always a little bit easier when you go in with a plan instead of just digging and then going out and trying to find a spot somewhere to plant them, which is what I do a lot of the time. But when you're doing that many, it's nice to know where they're going to go. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.